Where have we gone wrong? Brian, give us some words of wisdom here.
I like to think. I like the idea that our leaders will be moral leaders as well as brave military leaders or political leaders or whatever. But I don't know. I like to think that we can either our current leaders who are struggling can take a turn for good and make good moral choices, or we can elect people that will. Because I think that it's important not just that we make good choices, for policy, but it sets a tone. The country can follow the people who have those microphones and who get on TV. When they seem mean, it emboldens people to be mean. I really think that happens, and you see it actually all over the place.
Well, anyway, it's embarrassing to me. But anyway, hey, it was mentioned there in Pierre's editorial was Charlie Gambaro, who's in the studio this morning. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, David.
All
good
right.
to be with you, Brian. Good to see you.
Good morning,
We'll
sir.
talk about Randy Fine, and we'll give him his piece later in the program. We'll have him on to talk about what he's
Can I jump in real quick on something?
Of course, yes.
So I have it on good intelligence that that Randy doesn't even own a dog. He's a cat guy. Nothing against cat guys, but for him to fall on his sword for dogs, and again, he doesn't even own a dog. Again, it's another example of this guy just not walking the talk. But we'll get into it more later in the show.
Well, Brian, you don't have a dog, do you?
I don't.
All right. Well,
I don't
I have two.
either.
I got you covered.
And actually, we did have a fish, but today might have been the end of the fish.
All right.
We have two,
Sadly.
so we're covered.
Sam Greco, do you have a dog at home?
I do not, David. Good morning.
All right. Sorry to start off with that question. By the way, Sam Greco, our state representative, District 19, which is St. John's in Flagler County. We're halfway through the session, just about, right, Sam?
That's right. Halfway through the regular session, and we've had a busy week in Tallahassee.
Let's see. People say I don't give the text number out enough, so I'm going to do it right now. 386-259-0879, 259-0879, and I promise I will watch for your text to come in to ask questions, whatever. So a lot going on, Representative Greco. So if you want to kind of give us kind of an overview of what's on your mind and what's going on, just kind of a news update from Tallahassee would be great.
Well, sure. So late last week, the initial budget was released by the House on Thursday evening, and then the Senate on Friday. So that was the first opportunity that we had to see where some of our priorities for the district fell in the budget. And I was excited that we had a number of priorities for the city of Palm Coast and Flagler County and Flagler Beach in either the House or the Senate budget. So that was a great starting point. These are still the beginnings of the budget conversation and compromise. So now our objective is to make sure that the things that we have in the budget, we keep in the budget through the successive rounds of budgeting. But it was a good starting point. So we've got certainly some momentum behind a number of these projects.
All right. Charlie Gambaro in the studio. If you want to say good morning to Sam Greco.
Hey, Sam. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Councilman. I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Hey, listen, I just wanted to just personally thank you for your just tremendous support for the city of Palm Coast and our residents, specifically for the Burroughs Drive Stormwater Project, other stormwater issues, and also for supporting both the joint city project on as we look to expand our animal shelter capacity, but to our residents, we couldn't ask for a finer representative in Tallahassee for us. Just a tremendous partner, always makes himself available, and just fired up to see what comes up next. I know we've got a lot of this happened, and it was at the recommendation of Representative Greco. Hey, make sure you do your own push-ups. And we talked about that last week when we were in Tallahassee. But, we made the hard choices and invested in our infrastructure. We made hard choices on impact fees, and we showed not only our state but also our federal partners that we did everything we can at the local level before we went to ask, and it's been helpful for us to make that argument in Tallahassee, and I think it's been it's helped Representative Greco in making us and him making those cases in committee. So he's doing a fabulous job for us. Proud to have him as a partner and look forward to continuing to do good things for our community.
All right, very good. Brian, you got something?
No, just it's interesting. We've heard that a lot, and I'm curious, Representative Greco, how that does make an impact. Like when you see, hey, the local city is putting skin in the game, doing their own push-ups, raising their own money. Does that make it easier for you to like go and say, yeah, let's keep this in the budget?
Absolutely. Particularly when you're talking about county or municipal or governmental funding requests. It's helpful in any case, but it's maybe not as much of a requirement if you're talking about funding a nonprofit organization, a community service organization, something like that. There's probably a little bit more flexibility, but particularly when you're talking about a local government project, an infrastructure project, it's very, very, very helpful. It moves the committee chairs. It shows that this is a priority project, that this is not just a handout that folks are looking for from Tallahassee, that they're spending their own hard-earned tax dollars, that they care about it. And what's really important for the legislature is that this project is going to come to fruition, that if we allocate this money, this is going to happen, and it's not going to either be wasted and be lost in some government waste, or revert back to general revenue in a few years because the project doesn't happen. And so knowing that the local government already has a significant chunk, and we typically look for 50% or more of a project set aside, is a really meaningful sign to us in the House that, hey, this project is ready to go. And if we help them get over the finish line, this is something that's going to come to fruition, going to help Floridians. So it's extremely impactful, and certainly appreciate the work from the cities and the county to bring projects forward that they were committed to, that they had that financial commitment to, and that I think were meaningful and things that we had a good argument to sell in Tallahassee.
Brian?
So, a quick follow-up on that. This has been a real big debate in our community about how to fund the beaches. We've had a big debate about whether we should have a sales tax or if there's other ways, a special tax in certain areas, or how much. And the big question becomes like, well, how much can we count on with, like, say, state or federal help to help with the beaches? And when you hear, I'm sure you've heard of that whole sales tax debate, here locally. What is your take from the state side about that? Do you think that if there were a sales tax or some, we got a good plan, what does that say to the state? Does that make it less likely that we would get state money because now you don't need it? Or is there something we need to do like that to get the state money to help with the beaches?
Well, it's an interesting question. I don't know that there's necessarily a preference from the state as to where local funding comes from. And, I certainly believe that we do and should trust our local elected officials to make those decisions about what the best funding streams are, how to make that funding sustainable. So I'm less concerned about where the money's coming from, but more so that there is that skin in the game. Now, when you're talking about beach management, I appreciate you bringing that up. That's something that Senator Leake and I have been working on quite a bit this year. I have a bill in the House. Senator Leake has one in the Senate. It's House Bill 1297. And this is a bill that we've been working very closely with City of Palm Coast, the county, the beach, and other interested individuals in the district on. And what this bill is targeted at, amongst other things, is to make sure that communities that do good work and spend local dollars to preserve their beach aren't punished for it because they've now maintained their beach enough that it's not completely washed away and they don't get locked out of DEP resources. So we want to make sure that we're not punishing good behavior and disproportionately rewarding places that haven't spent local money on their beach. So it's we're working on this in a couple different ways. We obviously have this proposed piece of legislation that has moved through 2 committees in the House and I believe 2 committees in the Senate as well. And we're hoping we can get that bill on the floor in the next couple weeks to actually put that in statute that that DEP has to consider what local funds have been spent on the beach and the impact that those have had on what would otherwise be the erosion level. But on top of that, to have some conversations directly with DEP to try to articulate this point. And I know that the city and the county have also met with DEP to try to articulate this point. And Flagler County is not unique in this. There's counties all over Florida that have been caught in this same situation where they want to preserve their beach and they're willing to spend their own money to do it and have spent their own money to do it. But as a result, it's made it harder to access state and federal resources. So it's an important point that you raise and one that we're trying to solve this session.
The in transportation, switching to a different category here, just like you said, nothing's unique here. And actually, I got a text from St. Johns County. I got a question for you on that. But here in Flagler County, we're looking at massive amounts of money. The amount of money it costs to build roads compared to 10 years ago, I can't even believe the numbers I see. Charlie, we're talking about Old Kings Road widening, going 4 lanes, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what is it? A mile and a half, and it's how many millions of dollars?
Yeah, it's well over $1 million, and we're part of our capital improvement plan, and as part of what we captured in that plan with the $330 million bond that we approved is for the expansion of what we called Old Kings 2A. And then we also have, because we want to make sure we get ahead of these costs if they continue to increase, our council has, signed a letter to our federal, representative members of Congress, and we're applying for what's called the Build Grant. And that's basically shovel-ready projects that are ready to go. And I'm spending my own money going up to D.C. next week to meet with Senator Mooney, Senator Scott, and others to get a letter of support from them for this Build Grant application that goes to the U.S. Department of Transportation. But it is extremely expensive. We've had to make some compromises when it comes to, do we completely resurface the roads or do we microsurface, depending on the analysis and information that we've received, the engineering studies on the condition of the road. We're getting ready to move forward on Palm Coast Parkway and other.
Is that microsurfacing or just having to redo it?
We're redoing it. Yeah, because it's such an important right, and we're going to hear about it. But again, these are things. These are investments and projects that we have to move forward on for the long term of our community.
So, Sam, as far as you go here in influencing, because this would be DOT money, right? We're applying for, Charlie.
So this is federal money.
Oh, federal. Okay.
Federal,
There's
yeah.
no DOT on Palm Coast Parkway or Old Kings.
Well, mainly it's the city of Palm Coast footing the bill. When we talk DOT for that's State Road 100, that's US 1. And Ty Miller, Councilman Ty Miller, that he sits on our local transportation board that advocates for state funding and moving these projects forward. And we had a discussion with Representative Greco last week on how we can try to move those up forward in priorities and how we can see if we can move quicker on some of these projects. So again, another topic that Representative Greco has been
So
very
DOT
helpful on.
only funds state roads. Is that correct?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And then so with
the federal funding would flow through DOT. DOT would manage those funds.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
But the ask is to the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
And it would flow down.
All right. I was going to ask you about another bill I think you sponsored, Sam, on memory care. That's a big topic with everybody in healthcare right now. Was that 1290 something that you sponsored? Was that you? And can you tell us about it?
Absolutely. That's House Bill 1295, and working on it with Senator Colleen Burton. It's a bill that I'm very excited about. So what this bill does is, so AHCA, the Agency for Healthcare Administration, regulates assisted living facilities in Florida. And AHCA has a number of specialty licenses for assisted living facilities that have any number of specialties. AHCA does not have a specialty license for memory care. And what that means is that there isn't a set definition or baseline requirements that a facility that is advertising itself as providing memory care services or that is providing memory care services has to meet. So what the bill does is create a specialty ALF license for memory care and creates baseline standards that memory care facilities have to meet. And you know, this is really important because people in this situation and families who have a loved one who is suffering with dementia, they need to have certitude that the facility that they place their loved one in is going to provide the services that they're counting on. And some of that is fairly basic. It's as much as just making sure that there's staff awake 24/7, and that if somebody is not supposed to be able to leave a facility and walk down the street on their own, that there's those protections in place. And unfortunately, we've seen some very, very tragic instances in Florida where that hasn't happened. And so it's an important bill that is going to help a lot of folks, and we've had a lot of support from the ALF industry in crafting the language and coming up with the right solution. So I'm excited about that. That has one more committee stop in the House. I'm hopeful it'll be up in committee next week and then on the floor shortly thereafter.
Is there something in your life that makes this so important to you, the memory care bill?
Well, you know, I don't have any family members who are suffering with dementia. I've got you know, I've got grandparents, and you know, I've seen these you know, these facilities, but this is really driven by what I've seen around the state and in our community, but certainly beyond and all over Florida. That this is a really tragic situation that folks are in, and it's I think something that on its own is incredibly challenging and heartbreaking. It can be, and we don't need to add the additional complication of confusion about what services individuals are going to be receiving in facilities, or concern that those facilities may not be in fact meeting certain standards. And I'll tell you that the vast majority of facilities here in Florida are doing a fantastic job and taking care of their residents in a wonderful way, and really providing an excellent quality of life. And we're looking to help those facilities do that as best as they can. And then for the ones that the very, very small number that we're concerned about, we're looking to bring them up to that standard of care so that you know, family chooses that facility, that they can be confident that their loved one is going to be cared for.
Okay. Hey, we've got a couple of minutes here, but Sam, we want to give you the last words here. Kind of like say we're halfway through the session, and hopefully you do end on March 13th or something like that. It's supposed to be the last day, and everything's resolved. Is everybody getting along? Is the budget that DeSantis has presented, is that doable?
Well, every year the governor proposes a budget, the House proposes a budget, and the Senate proposes a budget, and those numbers are never identical. Even if the top lines are very close, the line items are never identical. And this year's no different. The top lines are all you know, within the same general universe, but they're all different. In this case, they're all just shy of $120 billion, somewhere between $115 and $120 billion. And then the line items themselves are different. So the negotiation process happens every year. It's a key part of the budget conversation, and so we're in the midst of that. There are parts of, I think at the end of the day, the budget you'll see has parts of each of these three initial budgets in them. For my part, I'm focused on making sure that the specific line item appropriations requests that I filed on behalf of our district get funded, as well as the recurring dollars that are important to our district get fully funded. This is a deliberative process, and there's always going to be discourse and disagreement amongst the chambers, amongst the branches of the government. I think you're seeing some of that, but I'll tell you, for our local part, I am incredibly grateful to get to work with Senator Leek. He's a fantastic legislator and somebody who I couldn't enjoy working with more. So whatever bumps sometimes are in the road in the different houses working together, different chambers. I'll tell you that Senator Leek and I work very well together, and I couldn't be happier with my Senate colleague, and to get to work with somebody who's got as much experience and is just as good a person and a policymaker as Senator Leek.
Well, and a lot of people don't know, we do have a balanced budget in Florida, right, unlike New York. Hey, when you're sitting at home with your feet up watching the news and you see what's going on in New York City, what goes through your mind? Like, I'm glad I'm in Florida. I mean, what when you see that kind of fiscal management and politics and things, what does Sam Greco think?
Well, I mean, I do think part of it is that I'm glad I'm in Florida, and that I'm glad that I'm in a state that, even when we disagree, we're disagreeing on how much money we want to put into our rainy day fund, and how much do we want to pay down our debt, and how much do we want to move some really exciting projects forward. Whereas other states are trying to figure out how to deal with massive holes in their budget. And the other thing I think is, it doesn't have to be that way. We've got, some projections show that by the end of 2026, we'll hit 24 million people in the state of Florida. If not this year, it'll be next year. We have one of the lowest spending per capita. We have one of the lowest state employees per capita. We are Florida leads. We're an example of what good government can look like, what fiscally responsible government can look like, efficient government can look like. Are there things that we can always be doing better? I mean, certainly, that's why we go into session every year, to try to figure out what those things are, and as new challenges arise, try to meet those challenges. But we I think are an example in other places as well. But I think Florida really does lead the way, and the nation looks to us, and we're an example of how a place can be run very effectively, very efficiently. And it's, some of the things we think about when we're looking at what policies we want to put into place, we're very conscious of the fact that a lot of the things we do in the Florida legislature are later looked at by the other 49 states and are often adopted by other states. And you can look at some of the policies that we've done here, over the past several years, and see that those things are picked up and replicated elsewhere. And so what we do here really does lead the nation.
Quick question, texted in. Actually, I got two, but I got time for one here because we got to run. Let's see. Are you pushing for a full funding of Florida's Forever in the House budget this year? Governor DeSantis has $115 million proposed in his budget. Last we heard, neither the House or the Senate were funding Florida Forever. This is something that we need to preserve the 153 acres in Summertown for the Bulow Creek project. So the question, quite frankly, are you pushing for funding for Florida Forever?
Well, I think that preserving Florida's natural treasures, preserving what has made Florida special, are very important. I think you hear that from across the board in the House and Senate. There's a variety of ways to do that, to ensure that we are we are maintaining Florida's natural wonders, and I'm certainly committed to that. There's a variety of ways to do that. We're still early in the budget conversation, so I can't tell you where Florida Forever is going to shake out at the end of the day. But that's a priority across the board to make sure that we're keeping Florida the special place that it is and the unique place that it is.
All right, very good. Sam Greco, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care,
Thank you,
Sam.
sir.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to do a roundabout with Councilman Charlie Gambaro on what's happening in Palm Coast here. We've got some good things. We've got challenges. We're going to do a roundabout. And Brian McMillan in the studio. We're going to also talk about the Randy Fine thing about dogs and a lot more. And also, are there too many people in Palm Coast? And we're going to educate everybody when we return.
Flagler County, between FP&L rate hikes and Palm Coast's rising water costs, utility charges are increasingly outrageous. But you can do something about it. Koala Insulation will make your home more energy efficient, reducing your electric bills while making your home more comfortable. Fight back against rising utility bills with family-owned Koala Insulation. Schedule a no-charge consultation at your home today by visiting koalainsulation.com. That's koalainsulation.com.
Cardiac arrest can happen at any age, even during youth sports. Do you know where the nearest AED is at your field or facility? Hi, I'm Lauren Ramirez. At Salus Medical Training, we provide AED rentals and training. Keep our community protected. Visit salusmedtraining.com.
Locals know where locals go.
Join us for the best happy hour on the beach. 350 well drinks and domestic bottles, 7 days a week from 11 a.m. until 7 p.m.
Johnny D's Beach Bar and Grill. We're waiting for you.
Hi, this is William with LCI Taxes. Due to the passing of the big, beautiful bill last summer, there is a lot of tax changes. So if you have any questions, you can give us a call at 586-3976, lcitaxes.com.
Hi folks, Bill Gallagher with SolarFit here. Have you ever thought about utilizing solar power for your home or business? Well, there's never been a better time to plug into the sun and stop renting electricity. How would you like to let your roof start paying you each month? Give us a call at 445-7606, that's 445-7606, or visit us at solarfit.com and set yourself free.
SolarFit your life and set yourself free with the sun's free energy.
We're back Free for All Friday. I'm David Ayers. Brian McMillan sitting over there to the left. Charlie Gambaro Jr., our council member candidate for Congress. And so you're moving on, taking the big leap to go to Washington representing us, right?
Absolutely.
And you know Washington. You know, spent a lot of time up there as a brigadier general, right?
I did, yeah. Spent 7 years of my career in the Army, serving in the Office of the Secretary of Defense for 4 different secretaries. Served as the President's Middle East advisor at the National Security Council for well over a year. Worked in the intelligence community at the National Counterterrorism Center. Been up on Capitol Hill briefing, built relationships, and figured out how to work effectively in that town. So look forward to going back as our next congressman and getting some things done for our community.
All right. Well, campaign-wise, a lot going on. We could do a whole show on that, and we will do some of it. We're going to talk about Randy Fine
Sure.
and his Muslim dogs thing that's getting all kinds of national attention to it. Let's talk about Palm Coast right now,
Sure.
locally. You've got kind of some bullet points on things to update us on, you know, and people are like, I mean, what, you know, like the splash pad. You know, I mean, hey, it was such a great thing. Remember that was back in the Melissa Holland days and how it was Holland Park and we're going to have this and it'll be, you know, just all great and everything. And then it all went to hell and lawsuits and it didn't work and fell apart. And it's costing the taxpayers a lot of money. So my question is it even working right now? And how much did that splash pad cost us, bottom line?
So at the end of the day, it is working. You know, the refurbishments that were done correctly. We were able to claw back, you know, about $2.4 million.
And that was suing the company, right?
And that was suing. It was a variety of companies involved, and you know, a main contractor and their subcontractors, and each of them pointing their fingers at each other. So we systematically went through and worked through settlement agreements with all of them. And So what's the difference from the original cost? Well, we were able to claw back $2.4 million. I think it was like $1.2 million that we weren't actually able to get back. But when we looked at the recovery, the lawsuits amongst the different parties, not only with the city, and the potential litigation of continued, court hearings and things of that nature, I think, Councilman Dave Sullivan said it best. We were at the point of law of diminishing returns. And again, this was an issue that none of us on the council, approved. We were really saddled with this issue, and we reached a point where we made, I think, the best decision for our taxpayers, and then at the end of the day, still have a quality water park for our residents.
It's an interesting part of being on a city council, because you didn't make very many decisions going back. 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. There's always a we were saddled with, and in some ways that's maybe a good thing because it allows some nimbleness to kind of like steer a little bit differently. It's not like we're attached to those decisions that somebody else made, although they probably made the best decision they could with what the information they had. But it's interesting how often that comes up. Like, this wasn't us. This wasn't us.
But here, I'll let me fight with you a little bit here.
All right.
All right. Okay. When you have council people, they're voted to do the best thing for the city. And when you vote people in that say, I'm not going to vote for a tax increase at all, I'm not going to do whatever it is, that's my political thing, so no matter what, nope, not going to do it, not going to do it, not going to do it. Time goes on. And years go by, expenses and things go up to it. So you got to look back at councils that said, hey, to make the tax, same thing happened on Flagler Beach. Same thing happens all over the country where they're in there. They want their neighbors to be happy. They want to say, hey, no, I didn't vote for any tax increases, or we're not going to spend money on this and that or whatever to it. And this is kind of the day of reckoning right now for Palm Coast, because now the current councils have to deal with all this delayed inaction and things. So,
well,
and I think right now the Palm Coast City Council is trying to get ahead of it, and why they're taking heat for the bond and all these sort of things with it. Somebody has to have a business sense and not just an emotional sense, because, and I'm going to bring up the thing you said this before we went on the air. Right. Okay, go ahead and tell people, because this ties in with the control and growth. So,
yeah, I was talking to a business owner last night at an event, and she was telling me you can either have control or you can have growth, but you can't have both. So the idea being that, if you try to keep everything exactly, I'm not going to make any decisions unless I have 100% of the information. You're not going to be able to take some risks that are needed for growing. So
yeah. So people go, well, hey, I want control and I want growth. I want controlled growth or whatever, but it's a very, sticky balance with it. But like I say, I admire the council today, that we have, where, people get up there and throw stuff verbally. It's almost like embarrassing. They mean well, that's how they feel. But there has to be a realization of intelligence that there is going to be growth, whether you want it or not, it is coming. And look at, why is it good, or why is it bad?
Well, I think that's what political leadership is all about. Like, it's easy to just exactly do what the most popular thing is, but that doesn't take any leadership. What takes leadership is, okay, we know that this is popular, but here's what we have to do, even though it's going to be painful. That is what leadership takes, I think.
Yeah,
Charlie, we're talking like you're not even in the studio.
Yeah, well, listen,
Councilman,
I want to jump in here. So,
you're the expert in leadership.
That's right.
So a couple thoughts. First and foremost, everybody that comes to our council and speaks their mind to us, I respect them. It's their constitutional right to be able to speak publicly on all their issues. Again, our challenge is that we have to take that into consideration with taking a strategic approach on where we want the city to go, and ensuring that we put policies in place to make that happen, and that we have the right staff in place to make that happen. When I first got on the Flagler County School Board, I had some personal thoughts and opinions, but when it comes time to govern, to actually the blocking and tackling of either a school district or a governmental organization, it's different. And especially if you sit on a board, right, where you're one of five, there has to be, you have to have the art of compromise. You know, if I get 80% or 70% of what I think is the right thing to do on any given day, that's a win, right? And so,
and if someone agrees with you 80% of the way, they're an ally. That's, I think Ronald Reagan said that. I think nowadays we think like they're your enemy because you're not 100%.
Yeah, and look, we're all charged to represent the entirety of our community, all parties, all walks of life, all different beliefs, to take their input, under consideration, and then try to make the best determination going forward. But I agree. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why I can't sit down and have a beer with somebody that I agree with on, their top 10 issues, but the other 80% we're in lockstep. We have to learn how to be reasonable and agreeable as we tackle these issues, because I think it adds to the eventual outcome.
Well, and like you say, with control, I mean, people get up there. Hey, I moved to Palm Coast years ago. I liked it how it was then. I don't like the way it's going. I don't like the traffic. I don't like the increase of the fees. I don't like
change.
And that's a natural human thing. But at the same time, if you govern a city based on that emotional belief and then turn that and do that where we don't do anything, you collapse, whether it be a business, like you talked about with business. There is no staying the same on it. And so I don't know what the answer is, but you sure take a lot of heat. And Vice Mayor Pontieri had about all she could take at the last council meeting, and kind of like, pushes back. Like for you guys to accuse us of not trying to do what's best for the city is an insult.
Yeah, and in particular on that issue, right? With the ICI development in the East Hampton, neighborhood in the east section there. Look, I've been on record, I sit on the Affordable Housing Committee for the county, and I've been on record saying that, affordability and attainability of housing is an important issue, not just for our community, but nationwide. And this isn't BS for me. I mean, I've got a future son-in-law that is a deputy sheriff here in our county. My daughter's an educator. For them to get into their first house, it's tough. It's extremely tough. Mm-hmm. And so the discussion that we had this week about moving, adding 13 homes to an existing project, they already had 58 of them approved. In addition to the applicant, ICI Homes, pledging to donate the land and working with their suppliers that they have, in existing relationships to get those costs down to at cost and work it through a foundation that will help these first responders build the credit that they need, is a win for our community. Mm-hmm. I will always stand with first responders, veterans, teachers, nurses, those that serve us. It was a 4-1 vote. I have no idea how the mayor, somebody who's a retired military officer, chose to vote against veterans. It's a problem. But again, I would say overall for the city council, right, we are moving forward in a positive direction. That's a policy difference between the mayor and the rest of us, right? But I would say on the majority of the things, we are moving forward as a team to try to get things going forward. The utility discussion and the bond discussion was a tough discussion, but the city, whether it was the staff or the public officials at the time, didn't make enough investments in our utility projects, especially wastewater, mainly wastewater, to give us the capacity that we think that we need going forward. So we're making that investment for the future. Is it popular? No. Are people really mad at me and others on the council? Yeah. Are people upset about the impact fees that we raised? Absolutely. There's a lawsuit going on about it. But on the impact fees, we did it based on data and facts, not emotion. And that was laid out to us in a way where actually the recommendation was like 180% increase. And we try to keep everything close to 100% as possible. And I'll remind everybody that was a 5-0 vote on the impact fees, right? So that's a united council, which is all of us taking a strategic approach, especially when it comes to the water, wastewater, and our capital improvement for the roads.
Well, with the home builders, they filed suit because you guys 5-0 said, "Hey, emergency, we got to go way beyond the limit to make up for or whatever the situation is." But I was looking here that the per capita collection of county, municipal, and school impact fees in Flagler County is $315.78 per capita versus $112 per capita for the state. So that's like right now without the increase to it. So I think that's St. Johns County is only at $227. So we're already at $315. So I think that's kind of what the home builders are screaming about, saying that, the emergency here is no different than the emergency elsewhere in the state. But right now, I guess the judge just kind of paused it, right? Because the city said, let's pause the lawsuit to analyze what's going on.
They did, yeah. And there was an additional motion or claim that was presented, which kind of superseded the previous ones. So we as a city asked for some more time to sort through it.
Yeah, because you're on affordable housing, and here we are jacking up the price, of more $10,000 or whatever. So, I don't know what the answer is, because the city does need funding. There's not that they don't, but at the same time, where do we?
Again, it's a balance. So on the importance. So I'll go back to when we first started the discussion on our utility increase and the funds that we needed to move forward in order to make these important investments. Even with our utility rate increase, that only funds 40% of our projects. 60% of our projects, the overall budget for what we want to do still comes out of those impact fees. So we had to do something there. That's why I went to Congress. That's why I tried to get Randy Fine on board to help us with some federal funding for our infrastructure. He refused to do it. And so, he toured the facility after I announced that I was going to run for Congress, but which I think is cute. But it has to be a mixture of both utility rate increases and impact fees.
So what happens if the housing growth that we're experiencing and everyone's kind of stressed out about, a lot of people, what happens if it slows down and then we get less impact fees?
Well, then we would have to reassess, right? But
raise them again.
But raising it is what possibly would kill it, right? Like if we don't, if we're assuming that we're going to keep getting all these impact fees, we're just going to charge more, and the people are still going to build exactly how much they were planning to. As a resident, that makes me a little nervous.
Control and growth.
Yeah. So
there you go.
So I would just argue that I was appointed on the council in October 24. We had 110,000 people in the city. Just over a year later, we've got 116,000. Bieber, the statistical gurus out of the University of Florida are projecting that growth is going to continue. People are still moving to Florida.
People, yes, but are people going to keep building houses is the question. Because that just makes the affordability even worse. Say we get another 5,000 people, houses are too expensive to build. People are trying to build them elsewhere. Now we got even more people and not enough houses. Most around the country, there's a housing shortage, and that's the stress here. When people build houses, it's like, no, wait, we don't want more. It's kind of an interesting dynamic.
But then some people look at it like Ponte Vedra. Okay, well, if you want to live in Ponte Vedra, you got to fork it out. You got to be able to afford it. So by having higher prices, do you have a better quality community of more higher income people?
Well, and it goes back to policymakers having to make the best decision with the information that they have, right?
Yeah.
That's a what if down the road. It is a course of action or scenario that could happen. Yeah. But I think we made the right decision at the right time to invest in our community, and to also prepare for that. If you don't have the infrastructure, it's tough. It's tough to support the growth both on the commercial side and on the residential side. But this investment in infrastructure also enables us to have the capacity to bring in more businesses and have the economic development that we need. But it's tough, right? It's that art and finding the balance between all of it.
Hey, I got Toby Tobin on the line. He is our host of Real Estate Matt. Toby, I'm giving you 3 minutes here because he did a great show the other day The question was density. Is density a good? A lot of people don't. They go, oh, look at all those apartments they're building in town center, and oh my God, did you go down, Old Kings and Colbert, and they're putting all these apartments in and all these people or whatever, and they think that there's too many people in such a short amount of space. So Toby, can you address? Is that density? Is that a good or bad thing for the community?
Well, it's ironic that the people who are against growth are also against density, and density it's really not how dense you make it; it's how you make it dense. And when people hear the word density, it's kind of like affordable housing. It sends people off into the Section 8 world immediately. But if you talk about density, everybody assumes that the entire project is going to be like 6 units per acre. And if you look at any of the big developments that are being under construction today, the actual construction is on a small percentage of the entire land that project consumed when it was purchased by the developer. So putting homes on smaller lots, smaller homes, shorter roads, shorter infrastructure runs, that you don't have to run pipes, water and sewer pipes as far. You don't have to they don't have to drive as far to answer a call. It's better. The environmentalists and intelligent planners all agree that density is good and it's a plus.
So building up the apartments that go up 3 stories, 4 stories, or whatever, that would be maximizing the density because you're not taking up real estate, right?
Exactly. I'd like to make a point that people want their pizza delivered on time, but they want their pizza delivery person to live in Putnam or Volusia County. And people don't like the idea of rentals, but who of us hasn't rented at one point in our lifetime? I mean, what's wrong with people that they don't want to live next door to their 25-year-old self?
All right, another quick question, then we got to go, is people go, there's too many people here in Palm Coast already. Stop building houses. Stop inviting people here. We have too many people in Palm Coast right now. Do we?
Okay. No, we don't have enough, and this is something that is little understood. The infrastructure, the in-the-ground infrastructure for Palm Coast was put in 50 or 60 years ago. That's the water and sewer piping. And it was designed and installed to support a population of 225,000 people. And we're only at about half that right now. So what I'm saying is that we have half the population paying for a system that was built for twice as many people. So we don't have enough ratepayers and taxpayers to cover our costs, and that's why our costs are so high per capita.
Okay, so, go ahead, Brian.
Well, Toby, first of all, how are you doing? Good to hear your voice. But when I remember the number, like, say $1.10 or $1.15, for every dollar in taxes a resident pays, they consume $1.15 in services. Is that still a thing? And if so, then why don't more residents actually end up costing us more because they consume more in services? Is that a...
Well, Brian, growth is inevitable. It is going to happen. So the problem is that government costs are going up faster than inflation, generally speaking. So even if we stop growth, government costs are going to continue to increase. The people that are building the new developments are actually subsidizing the existing property owners because all of the new developments require homeowners associations. I mean, they have amenities. They have to put in their own stormwater system, their own streets, which are not conveyed over to the city. And if you live in one of those master plan communities, you're paying several $100s a month, typically more, over and above your property taxes to your association to cover your amenities, which takes a load off of the public park amenities, for instance. There's no tax credit. because your community has its own pool, so you don't have to use a community pool.
So in other words, that whole calculation is not as applicable because they're funding their own roads now.
Exactly. They're funding a lot of, and they're still paying the full tax load that everyone else is paying. So they're subsidizing the citywide stormwater management system and roads.
All right. Charlie Gambaro comments on what Toby said.
No, I think Toby is spot on. My preference is, less apartment buildings. I'd like to see more homes. There's been things that we've talked about, with the duplex lots and things of that nature that I think it's worth having a discussion. But to Brian's point, and I've got the cheat sheet right here. So when you look at overall taxes for our residents, right, they pay for every dollar that they have, they pay 45 cents. For every tax dollar it's collected, 45 cents goes to Flagler County, right? They've got to fund all the constitutional offices. The school board gets 29 cents. Palm Coast gets 23 cents. And then the other taxing authorities, mosquito control district, that kind of stuff. So even with all of that from a tax perspective, the city's kind of really down on the lower end of where our tax dollars go to. And so, you've got to look at all revenue options in order to be able to support that growth going forward. And so it's a balance, and it's an important discussion.
Okay. But I think also the residents and the voters need to be open-minded and educate yourselves to what it's more than what you just think, and to understand what Charlie and the rest of our council and mayor and the city workers and everybody, what they're trying to do for the community, and look at the big picture to it, rather than it takes you 5 minutes longer to go to Publix or something. And I think you really need to weigh it out. Once you feel like the traffic is terrible here, take a ride to Orlando or Atlanta or Tampa or Jacksonville or something, and then come back here, and you kind of appreciate that really it isn't that bad. So anyway, hey, go ahead, Toby. Final words.
When people tell me that they want Palm Coast to be just like it was when they moved here, I say, yes, I agree with you. I felt the same way before you moved here.
Jeez. All right, Toby. Hey, always good talking to you. A little plug for Toby's Real Estate Matters, 11 to 11:30 every Saturday here on WNZF. Also, we do replay it on Sunday from 9 to 9:30 on WNZF. And Toby, also our thoughts and prayers with you. I know Shirley, your wife, just wonderful person, passed away this week. So we're with you, okay?
Be praying for you, Toby.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a quick break with some final comments. We'll be back. Charlie Gambaro. My gosh, we need a 2-hour show here. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Randy Fine, but we will when we come back right after this.
No matter what time you reach out to Craig Flagler Palms Funeral Home and Flagler Memorial Gardens, when you call, you'll talk to a real person on the phone. Every loved one is treated as a special person, cherished by family and friends. Hundreds of families each year choose CFP. Learn more about all their services at DignityMemorial.com.
Do you like nice things? Want to save some money? You'll find engagement rings, necklaces, diamonds and gems, Rolex watches, new and used. And you'll save up to 50% and more. We're Palm Coast Pawn and Jewelry. Find us on Palm Coast Parkway in the Papa John's Plaza.
We're back, Free for All Friday. Going to run a little bit longer. Charlie Gambaro in the studio, our Palm Coast City Councilman, who is running for Congress against incumbent Randy Fine. Randy Fine endorsed by, I guess, would you consider that endorsement by the President of the United States? Or he kind of, I don't know, was that official endorsement that Trump did for Randy Fine?
It was, but
Okay.
I worked for him, and he and I both know the president that even with the president's endorsement, we're gonna beat Randy Fine.
All right. Okay. So, and just recently in the news, Randy Fine, he was, hey, I got the sheriffs, Chitwood and Volusia County, and I think it was yesterday, he withdrew his endorsement over his talking about filing a bill with Muslims and dogs in the house, and kind of paraphrasing it was that parts of the Muslim religion basically think the dog shouldn't be in a house because of their saliva. I don't like dogs licking all over me either, but it's like and they should be outside and they should be work dogs and all that kind of a thing. So he I don't know if he did file it, but he did. But a lot of people are in support, and then other people went ballistic about it. And so anyway, let's play a sound. This is from I think it was let me see. There it is. Okay.
It's not enough for Democrats to think anyone who wants to come here illegally should be able to do that. They also think they should be able to get whatever free stuff they want. Now they're demanding that we change our values and how we live as Americans. My post was in response to a major Muslim leader saying dogs should be forbidden from New York City because to some Muslims it bothers them. Well, if they're going to make us choose between our dogs and them going home, the choice is easy. And people should know Democrats like AOC are saying we are going to get rid of your dogs. Americans need to keep that in mind when they go to vote in November.
All right. When they go to vote in November, Charlie Gambaro is going to be on the ballot with Randy Fine and.
It'll be in the primary, right?
Well,
in
August.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Never mind. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for correcting that.
Good.
All right. So, so this has got national attention, and it's really kind of crazy. But so anyway, so rebuttal time, or not even really a rebuttal, but what's your take on this? Because in the primary coming up in November, Randy Fine is your opponent.
Yeah, so Randy Not So Fine is a real problem for our community. I mean, I don't even know where to start. First and foremost, with the sheriff's endorsement, right? The first issue with that round of endorsements that he rolled out is he said that Sheriff Rick Staley endorsed him, in which he actually didn't. He came back and said that he stayed neutral. So Randy lied about that and still hasn't corrected the record. Now, Sheriff Chitwood, and, I've met with him and we've got a good relationship, has rescinded his endorsement because of his
dramatic.
comments.
I mean,
well, and
when does that ever happen that someone takes back an endorsement? That's pretty wild.
Well, and I've been on the phone with other sheriffs, and I think over the next week, there are going to be others that are going to rescind their endorsement as well. So what's the message here? This guy should not be representing us in Congress. It's a big deal. And look, Randy makes comments about all sorts of issues. But, as a member of Congress, and just like Sheriff Chitwood said, he needs to be representing all of us. He doesn't live in the district. He lives 100 miles south of South Daytona Beach, right? He's an extreme. If there's anybody there's an extreme here, it's Randy Fine. He's an extreme carpetbagger, okay? And he doesn't live here. He doesn't even know how to get from, Joe's New York Pizza to Home Depot. I mean, it's a real problem. And then the other thing that I'll say is he makes a big deal about anti-Semitism. And I'll say this, the state of Israel is an important ally for us in the Middle East. Huge partner. We helped create that country by being the first nation to recognize it. On October 7th, 2023, they absolutely had the right for self-defense. Absolutely, just like we would if somebody attacked our country and committed those atrocities against us. But I will tell you, as somebody who has spent almost 3 decades in the profession of arms, if you haven't been to the National World War II Museum in New Orleans or Louisiana, you should go. And it's humbling. You walk out of there almost shell-shocked because you realize that in World War II, and it's so apparent, we lost 64 million lives in a matter of, less than 10 years. So what did the nations do after World War II? They came together and they said, we have to set up laws of war and establish what we call the Geneva Convention in order to try to do our best to prevent the loss of innocent lives and have these tragedies. Randy Fine advocated for using nuclear weapons in Gaza. Now, it shows just how unintelligent he is, because if you actually nuke the Gaza Strip, which is right next to Israel, a lot of Israelis are going to die from the nuclear fallout, right? He talks about other people not being smart. That's an unintelligent comment, okay? The second thing, starving the children, okay? As a military commander who served in combat overseas, I can tell you that, at times we had to make decisions on whether or not to hit targets. And a lot of times we realized that there was an orphanage or school or something like that. And the second that, commanders make those kinds of decisions is the second that we become those animals that we're trying to hunt down and bring to justice. Okay, so we have a sitting member of Congress, that's advocating for our military forces and for the president to make a decision that absolutely violates the Geneva Convention and the laws of war is unconscionable. It's unbecoming of his position. And then, we support the state of Israel. This congressional race is not about the state of Israel. It's about Randy Fine and the despicable person that he is, that really does not care about us. If he cared about us, he'd write a bill right now to help fund our infrastructure, but he hasn't done it. If he cared about us, he wouldn't lie about endorsements. If he cared about us, he wouldn't be, staking claim to FEMA money that was owed to us 10 years ago. The guy is a human train wreck, and he's impulsive. He doesn't make decisions based on facts. And I think to Brian's point, making emotional decisions or trying to go with what's popular as a public official and policy making and in making laws is not leadership, right? It's not really driving forward. So I can go on about Randy all day, but
and we don't have all
but
day.
We can, yeah, but what I will tell everybody, join General Charlie Gambaro's army. Go to voteforgambaro.com or at Vote Gambaro on X. We've got a campaign. We're going to win, and it's going to be fantastic when we take him off, the options for our residents.
All right. Well, we will offer Randy Fine a rebuttal time, obviously. And hey, I missed, and I got to a guy named. This is a question for you about back to Palm Coast here. Okay. Sure. Gary Kunis, I believe. Hope I pronounced it. And because you put your name on it is why I read it, because some people text stuff and they don't say who they are. I know Gary. Okay, all right. He said, good morning. Can you ask Councilman Gambaro why he didn't ask to table ICI vote until the council could get details on the nonprofit? There is no rewards on a handshake, or did he get funds for his defunct run for Congress? Gary Kunis.
Yeah, so Gary Kunis obviously is not a fan. He actually sends me emails in the middle of the council meetings telling me you're not going to get elected to Congress, whatever, go to hell, that kind of stuff. So, well, I voted for it because it's the right thing to do, and it's tremendous that we had an applicant that that's willing to support, donate the land, work with our veterans and first responders to make that happen. But can I shift gears real quick on kind of breaking news?
Okay. Oh, yeah. You said you had a surprise. People saying, what's the big surprise?
So the big surprise is this. I have decided to support a candidate for that's running for District 2 for the city of Palm Coast, and it's Tony Amaral Jr. I'm today announcing my full endorsement of him because he is a long-term member of this community. He's a long-term businessman. His family has worked very hard to develop, portions of our community, and he's a good man. And the reason that he's running for office is because a lot of the same issues. Our sons or daughters, will they be able to go to school, come back here, work, thrive, things of that nature? But he's got the right experience. He has a long history in our community, and he's a good family man. I serve on the Affordable Housing Committee with his wife Carla. And so I urge everybody to go to votefortony.com. I'll be speaking tonight at his campaign kickoff at the Portuguese Association at 6 p.m. tonight. So if you have the opportunity to swing by, please help join us. And together, Tony and I are going to work together to continue to make Palm Coast a better place.
All right, very good. Thank you. Hey, by the way, we're having our health and wellness fair right now at the Palm Coast Community Center, our 16th annual, all different kinds of things out there, health and wellness fair. People come and go. Parking is a little bit tight over there, but at the same time, it's everything you can think, from health screenings and financial things and checkups, and a lot of our local businesses are there. So go on out, check them out, have fun, grab some free pencils and rulers and gift bags and things, or whatever you want. Dunkin' Donuts supply donuts and things like that. So get on out there, support the local businesses, have some fun. Going on right now until 2 o'clock this afternoon.
You had me at the free rulers. I'm there.
Yeah, I know. You still use a ruler, don't you? All right.
Slide rule.
Okay. All right. Charlie Gambaro, thank you so much.
Thank
you. Appreciate your service to the community, to our country, and and maybe be our next congressman. So that's up to the voters, not
That's
us. All right. Brian, thank you. Have a good
Have a great
weekend.
weekend.
All right, everybody, take care.